Hello, peoples. Welcome to the PCC, the Pop Culture Clash. I am Marcus Beer, and this week we're changing up the roster yet again. We sold Elise into slavery for a bag of Funyuns and replaced her for this week with the Doctor Who wearing Megan Rue.
Hello.
And, of course, the always rampantly sexual John Santo.
What can I say? It's my thing.
I feel actually a little underdressed because you guys are rocking the quality nerd t-shirts, and I just got my Pervy Twister one on. But anyway, let's crack on. This show is all about TV.
Yeah.
TV, and the fall shows and the rumors and the news. And we're going to start off with the news that Fox is just, I mean, they're not even going to pilot. They're going straight to series on Gotham.
Yeah.
Which is basically Jim Gordon in the Gotham PD before Batman, and the synopsis was, and the enemies that and the villains that Batman gets to deal with and the origins of those villains, which basically means Fox was like, oh, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s going to make a shitload of money, and Superman Man of Steel 2 with Batman's going to make a lot of money, and Smallville made a lot of money. Now it's our turn.
Sure.
They obviously forgot the Sarah Connor Chronicles. How do we feel about this?
Meg, please.
Well, it's Fox, so I don't really I take every announcement they make with a grain of salt, and any sort of hope that they even consider they're going to have in terms of how well it's going to do or how long it's going to run, and I just toss it out the window because they've had such a bad record as far as shows that I know I gave shots on their network. And
well, I think it's interesting because Fox gets a bad rep, but Fox is the one that has pushed out more of these shows, I think, than anybody else. I mean,
they give it a shot.
You go back to the X-Files.
Actually, even when the station when Fox first launched, they started off with Star Trek: The Next Generation, and they started off with the War of the Worlds, and Werewolf, I think, was one of their
that was before I moved to the U.S.
Oh yeah, that was like
obviously TNG was huge, but
they launched actually on a platform of genre-based shows.
Yeah, and they've come through with stuff over the years. I mean, you look at Firefly.
Yep.
That was one of theirs. Dollhouse. I mean, Sarah Connor.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm not
Fringe.
saying the content
Sarah
that I'm just saying
Fringe.
I don't think they're a little NBC about it to make a late night joke where it's just like it'll do well, but then they get rid of it.
Well, it's undoubtedly it is their instant response to S.H.I.E.L.D. I mean, we had actually even discussed the show, the show being thrown out there, first or second episode, I believe, and then on the day that S.H.I.E.L.D. is airing, they throw out DC and Fox throws out this announcement that's going to be their big thing, hoping to kind of steal some thunder and ride those coattails, etc.
They've got us talking about it. I think the casting is going to be key. I mean, you got to have somebody who is a strong. I mean, I'm hoping they don't go with, oh, look, it's good-looking 20-something who is now this idealistic lieutenant who's coming in and is going to shake up the PD. I mean, there is a very strong backstory there with Jim Gordon. I mean, if you read Batman Year One,
right?
If it's that Jim Gordon. And this is set in the sort of like the year and a half where he's come from somewhere else, and he has got issues in the past where he's sold out the dirty cops, and he has to fight that sort of corruption. There is some interesting scope there.
Sorry, so wait, the show takes place pre-Batman, or it's between Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises?
This is pre-Batman.
Okay, so it's a whole prequel. Fuck it, now it's done.
They said miniseries, or at least the one article I read said miniseries. Is it like
miniseries means canceled after 10 episodes?
Yeah. I didn't see it as a miniseries, and I think this is one of those ones that if WB are producing it for Fox, and it falls under the Chris Nolan thing, as a crime drama, it actually could be really good, because that's what
interesting.
Batman
actually.
Begins and The Dark Knight had going for them. They were really good crime dramas.
Right.
They were heist movies in a lot of ways.
Right.
With the guy in tights.
Yeah, I don't know if
they're not going to tap into that.
I don't know if Nolan will have anything to do with it, though. I think Nolan is incredibly busy dealing with a lot of his own. I mean, he's in the middle of Interstellar right now. After that, he's gonna have to hop back on to producing Superman, Batman. I don't know what his schedule fits for. He's an icon. The guy's an iconoclast. I don't know if he's going to want to submit himself to work. Like Joss Whedon has with really getting invested in the Marvel universe. I don't think that's Nolan's bag.
I think his brother,
Jonathan
Nolan, who I didn't realize this until last season, created Person of Interest, which is one of my favorite shows.
Yeah.
he would be somebody who is used to working in TV.
That's a good point.
And can bring this, because again, it's those crime dramas, it's those weekly, those weekly interesting things. I think the cast on this is going to be greatly anticipated. We know we're not going to get Joker. We know there's not going to be Riddler or Two-Face or whatever.
Doesn't mean they might not try.
But well, I think if they,
the jokester,
as long as they don't do what Smallville did towards the end,
Yeah.
Right.
when they were pulling in everybody and its dog and just totally screwing everything up. But there's a lot of money to be made. There's a lot of viewers to be had. Arrow is performing quite well. Apparently, I watched the first 2 episodes and didn't really like it.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I think we've got to hold off on this one. More cool takes on comic book stuff. Yes.
Right.
So I'm guessing the Comic-Con panel next year will be one to look forward to. But yeah, so the rest of the show is all about fall TV, all the new stuff and stuff we've missed. I think the Gotham one is a nice segue into the 800-pound gorilla for this week for all of us.
The 11.2 million pound gorilla.
Yes, exactly, which is Trophy Wife on ABC.
Yeah, fabulous. Let me tell you, Malin Ackerman, huge. She's massive right now.
And if you believe the Emmys, she's a rap superstar apparently. If anybody watched the Emmys this week, which I wouldn't recommend.
That threw me off.
It was horrible. No, we're talking Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Hotly anticipated. Joss Whedon's sticky fingerprints all over it.
Yeah.
In a good way. I will chip in with what I thought. Let's go with John first. What do you think?
I enjoyed it. For the most part, I enjoyed it. It is a Joss Whedon show. I mean, it's almost tough to say that it's even a Marvel product as much as it's a Joss Whedon show. I mean, it feels so. It's all of his writing. Everything Coulson does is straight out of one of his scripts. I mean, there's all the jokes, all the self-referential self-awareness, that takes place within it. It's incredibly entertaining. For me, it's too early to tell if it's something for me to stick with. I will definitely watch. I mean, I'll give it half a season at least.
I'm in for the season.
Are you? Yeah. See, are we allowed to discuss plot points and stuff like that?
Well,
is that
I
how we're
think
gonna go?
well, I mean, we got to be aware. I think our cousins overseas aren't going to get it for another couple of weeks.
Is Centipede is introduced. There's a group known as Centipede that is introduced. That apparently will be our main foil, I guess, throughout the series.
Centipede's going to be the big bad.
Are
for
they
this
now?
season.
I don't know them from the they from the comics?
I think they are a creation. I'm not aware of them either. But I think the way we can tackle it without giving away too many of the spoilers is that this is it's an origin story for this Shield team, because it's not the Shield we know from the Avengers, and Nick Fury is not in it. I think it's pretty everybody knows that Kobe Smulders is she appears in that first episode.
She'll be back.
And I'm sure she'll be back, but there is no Iron Man. That there's references. You see little touches. There are mentions, but there's no Iron Man, Thor, Hulk, etc.
No, and they've been saying that since the beginning.
Yeah.
But they this was going to be completely separate, and it wasn't necessarily going to have. I know Sam Jackson was been on interviews being like, I'll stop by. I don't know if I'll be in it, but I will happily stop by.
It'll be like that episode of The Simpsons where Wiggum gets his own spin-off show in
and
New Orleans, and the Simpsons just pop by. But I think it's stronger for that. I mean, this is it's set almost directly after after the New York of Avengers. It's been cleaned up, but they're dealing with the aftermath of that. And I like the fact that this is not the superpowered team. This is not the superhero team. This is the
It's not Alphas or X-Men. It's the people.
The ones who clean their shit up.
Right, right. It's a procedural to some extent. It's a crime is being committed by some kind of low level something somewhere. Let's figure out what's going on here. It's almost got a Mission Impossible kind of feel to it at times.
Yeah, it felt to me like I was watching an 80s.
Yes.
Are you just saying that because of Lola?
Look, the car is gorgeous. Don't get me wrong. Lola is beautiful.
Yeah, and the last shot with Lola. The last shot for me, I was kind of like,
where we're going, we don't need roads.
Yeah, really? Okay.
Yeah, but
okay.
I mean, it did feel like one of those, A-Team, Knight Rider, Street Talk.
Yeah.
I mean, it felt like one of those 80s shows, which is not a bad thing. I mean, obviously the production values are pretty good.
Yeah.
They have not spared many of the expenses, although.
No, they have Marvel money.
Well, they do have Marvel money, but I mean, I did find it quite bizarre that so much of New York really does look like Los Angeles.
Yeah. Well, no, it took place.
No,
in Los
it was
Angeles.
in Los Angeles.
Well, no, it started off in in New York.
No.
The explosions and stuff were in
Well,
Los
no,
Angeles.
I know the character is in the first character we
Right.
see. He's based in LA, he's in California. But my understanding was, the Shield team initially were
Got
over
it.
on that
Right.
side.
Gotcha.
Oh,
Of
and then
the,
they
of the
flew to.
thing.
Got it.
But I mean,
Yep.
even some of the stuff you saw there was like
Right.
the airport.
Sure.
But anyway, that's nitpicking. Yeah, you're right. Coulson. I mean, Clark Gregg.
Clark Gregg's fantastic.
Yeah, I could listen to him read the phone book.
Yeah, well, he's from the
here's-
David Mamet family, so he's he's ace. I mean, the guy's a real pro.
Here's the pot stirring question, though. If he wasn't in it, would you have enjoyed the episode as much as you did? Because I enjoyed it, but I think
Not with
if
that
I
lead, not
took
with that
out,
lead guy.
No,
I know.
I
he's
didn't
the
like him.
touchstone.
Yeah.
He's basically the glue that pulls that basically holds everything else together, because he is Coulson, because he is this character. I mean, he was a bit part player in Iron Man, and he made that role his own, so much so that he became as integral
Yeah.
Right.
to the Marvel movies as the Stan Lee cameo. In fact, people look more for Coulson than they do for the the nod and the wink of seeing Stan Lee shuffle
Sure.
across the screen.
Mm-hmm.
And Greg nails it. I mean,
He
he really
does.
does. And his appearance and asks a lot of questions.
Sorry, it's really dark in this corner. There was a light
Yeah.
bulb out, but I couldn't
couldn't
resist.
resist, yeah.
Yeah, but again, these that's pure Whedon.
Yeah,
It is
Yeah.
to a T.
And that to me gives me hope for the series, because look, I was a big fan of Buffy. A big fan of Angel. Firefly, I missed out the first time round because I was off drinking, I think, but I've since fallen in love with it. Didn't really like Dollhouse, but I think that's more of an Eliza Dushku issue, because I mean, no offense to her, but I just can't really.
I loved all the side cast of Dollhouse.
I was going to Dollhouse actually, because Megan actually said give it a shot again after I'd watched like 1 or 2 episodes, and I did an entire weekend of watching them. And by 5th episode or so, you get pretty hooked on it. I mean,
Okay.
you really start getting involved in what's
It's on
going on with it.
streaming?
Yes, it is on
Mhm.
Netflix.
It's on
or it
Netflix.
was.
All right, that's another thing to stick on my list. But yeah, I think and honestly, and this is just pure fanboy moment for me. The one bit that made me smile the most was after the episode had ended, and I saw Mutant Enemy. Grr,
Yeah.
Yeah,
arg,
right?
which was just a blast back to 10 years ago. But look, I think it was a perfect pilot? No. Did it serve its purpose of
Yeah.
pulling these characters together, with the exception of Ming-Na Wen?
Okay.
It's got, yeah.
The male lead,
Yeah.
kind of forgettable.
Yeah, well, and that's why I'm really glad they're bringing the other girl in, the non-terrorist girl,
The
the,
hacker.
Sky?
the hacker. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's I was able to latch onto a lot faster than I was our main macho character guy.
Yeah, I mean, I would have hoped that it was almost like it needed a Nathan Fillion character.
Right.
Perhaps not as old.
Sure.
I mean,
sure,
I'm not
sure,
saying
sure.
Nathan
You know,
Fillion is old.
it needed
but-
somebody with more charm than
yeah,
cool.
He doesn't. I mean, he has.
But they set it
issues.
up so that there can be growth. I mean,
Oh, there's a lot of growth, because I mean, he's basically a seed 6 foot down under a pile of shit right now. I mean, he's the weak point for me. I think the rest of the characters, they fit in very well. But if this was, Clark Gregg is not Nathan Fillion.
no, and I
he
think
is
that
the lead, but
you try and think of the flip sides of everything, where you have Fitzsimmons, and the flip side of that is Melinda May,
Right.
and then you have Sky, and they're trying to suggest that Grant is the flip side of
Sort of
her.
her.
Well,
Right.
I'm glad you said his name again, because I'd totally forgotten it by the end of the episode.
I had to look it up before this
Yeah,
podcast.
and I gotta say, he is the one weak point, and I hope he grows, and I hope he becomes better. But I mean, he looks like a poor man's James Bond. I mean, he's the sort of guy.
Well, and he's carrying himself that way as well.
He's the guy in the red shirt in Star Trek on the away team that I
Fair.
honestly would have
I
expected
could.
to
I hate
see
to see
being
that
off.
because Whedon likes killing people off. I wouldn't be shocked if halfway through the season they do decide to knock him off.
Yeah.
I don't think they would knock him off. They'd probably knock off Melinda May.
Oh God. Okay.
Look again. I can see her character has got an interesting backstory. It's that
That we
I'm,
have
you
to
know,
unwind.
Yeah,
and-
that
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to. Yeah, could I live without the Grant character? Yeah, I probably could. I mean, because the other thing is that has anybody seen the Avengers the Thor Blu-ray with the if you watch it, there is a Marvel short on it of Coulson stopping up at a gas station, and there's an armed robbery in progress. And after watching that, Coulson can kick ass better than anybody else. You have to find that and watch it, because he is just brilliant in that. Just this, I could see Coulson being that kick-ass character that you need if you want to, but I'm also thinking that it still needs a Nathan Fillion type,
Right.
And the young Nathan
By
Fillion.
Nathan Fillion, you're saying essentially Captain Mao. You need a Captain Mao.
Sort of like a younger Mao.
You need your Han Solo.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not Han Solo right now.
Right. Although the initial fight scene with him in Paris, is that where his tape like? It was a really well executed fight scene. I thought the whole with the pitch smashing the pitcher across the guy's head, and I mean that whole fight scene was incredibly well choreographed and well executed.
And I mean, perhaps I'm just nitpicking. Perhaps he will grow into it because again, they had to talk about Fitz and Simmons, and
right.
They had to talk about Ming Na, and they had to go through all bring in all these other characters. So he will get his time to shine. I just hope that it comes sooner rather than later.
Right.
I'm also, just to throw it out there, I cannot wait to find out about Coulson. And I don't want to say much more for those who haven't seen it, but it's just essentially that episode ended, and I turned to Matt and I was like, okay, so it's either this or it's this or it's going to be this, and let's just say I'm waiting to see Coulson get in a fight because I'm going to be curious what happens if he gets a nick or a cut and what we're going to learn.
There is one giveaway in that episode when and spoiler.
Yeah, spoiler.
I will wave when the spoiler's over.
Okay.
$5 says this is what Jeremy spoke about when he already, but go ahead.
When they're outside Union Station, the van and the door of the van gets kicked off.
Oh yeah.
And he
flies back. Right.
He doesn't fly back. He just bends.
Oh, that's right. He does. That's right. He does the Neo bend. Yeah.
I mean, and it doesn't even break sweat.
Right.
And so, still spoilers. I still think that he is the prototype for the Vision project.
I saw you tweet that.
That's my thing. So anything to add to that before we turn spoilers off?
Not at all.
The only thing I was thinking was there's some sort of cybernetic alien tech implant or something that's been done to him to react so quickly.
All right,
okay.
Spoilers off.
Spoilers off.
We're good. All right, so all right, we'll thumbs up, thumbs down on Shield.
Oh, thumbs up.
1 thumb, 2 thumb, 1.5 thumbs.
I'll give it a full 2 thumbs up actually. Yeah.
I'll give it a Hulk punching Captain America. Sorry, horrible reference.
All right, yeah. Total thumbs up. We're in. So there are a bunch.
Cred lost.
There are what? She's like this all the time.
Yeah, I am.
All right. So we're going to talk about the rest of the shows, and we're going to try and cram those in. There have been a slew, as is the tradition with American sweeps and getting the fall season up
this
and
week.
running.
Yeah, this week everything went full tilt and just they started pumping everything out there. It's a big week.
So let's stick with networks, and I'm going to run through, and I'm going to read out a couple of these, and if you've seen them, shout out.
Sure.
And if you haven't seen them, then maybe they're not worth seeing anyway.
And to clarify, we record on a Thursday. We go up Saturday or Sunday, so lots of things are actually debuting tonight that we haven't seen yet.
But we can always tap on those next week.
Yeah.
The ones we. First up, the Goldbergs on ABC, which followed in from Shield. I watched this. John, you watched it?
I did not watch it.
You
no.
didn't watch it. All right. So I think the premise on this one is it's the Wonder Years 1980s.
Okay.
And it's again, it's kind of ironic that I think it's set in Pennsylvania. But it's actually filmed down the road from my house in Monrovia.
Okay.
I saw my local burger joint on it. It's, it is the Wonder Years for the generation.
Jeff Garlin is he?
Jeff Garlin's in it.
Okay.
George Siegel's in it.
Oh wow! All right.
Not to be confused with Steven Siegel. But yeah, it's 1980s, told from the perspective of the youngest child, older brother, older sister, dysfunctional parents. But it kicks off so well. It kicks off with Back to the Future, Knight Rider, all like Tamagotchis. All these things from the 80s that I was 9 in 1980, so that was my decade. So the music and everything. I don't think this is going to run 10 years. It did get a good lead in from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
I'm sure.
I really enjoyed it. My wife really enjoyed it. But we are children of that generation.
Right.
If it lasts a full season, I'll be really happy. It started off, kind of funny, but I think if you're a 40-year-old, it's just worth it for the nostalgia.
Okay.
Following on from that was Trophy Wife.
Trophy Wife, I did watch on Hulu when they were showing that. Yeah. It'll probably make it a season, maybe.
It's got Malin Ackerman.
It's got Malin Ackerman. It's got Bradley Whitford. Marcia Gay Harden is in it as well. Bradley Whitford plays a man who's been divorced twice, 3 times, whatever. Malin Ackerman is the stepmom, is the new stepmom. He's got, I don't know, 3 kids, 4 kids. Some, it's young woman trying to adapt to married life. Hilarity ensues sometimes.
I didn't watch it, but it's got Malin Ackerman.
Oh, there you have it. Yeah, it's Nah, I'm not gonna watch it again. But I was not, but nor was I offended by watching it. So
Okay. Other ones you were talking about back in the game, which I'm guessing is the baseball one.
that was the one with James Caan, huh? This is gonna sound weird. Actually, I'm willing to give that one more shot. That was another one that they debuted on Hulu a couple weeks ago. And the lead in it is pretty solid. It's about a single mom who takes over her son's softball team. She was her dad, played by James Caan, is a drunk and former pro pitcher, I believe, who raised her like a boy. And there's a lot of it's nice to have a dynamic that isn't grown up man with daddy issues. Now it's the daughter father scenario, and they've just moved. They've just had to move back in with him because, of course, they have no money. And honestly, I thought it worked pretty well for me. I will watch it if it's something that streams on Hulu. I will watch it probably in the mornings while getting ready for work.
For me, baseball movies, TV stuff. I mean, topped out with Mr. Baseball and Field of Dreams. Thank you very much.